This is going to be a really interesting conversation for me in particular because my guest is unlike any other guest I have, and we're going to talk today about we're going to actually talk a lot about art being a superpower, but we're going to talk a ton about humanity and nature and higher truth and all these things that I'm not an expert on. So, in hopes that we can help people kind of find their way in life, this crazy life that we live in. So, my guest is an artist, a speaker, a coach, and an author of 5 books. I believe the most recent book he wrote is called "The Smart of Art." He's bilingual. He speaks German. He speaks English. He lives out in Newport Beach, California. Fascinating guy. His name is Michaell Magrutsche, and I appreciate him being here today. So, Michael, you got to help me keep this thing on track. Thanks for being here.
Okay, Dave. I want to just tell your listeners, first of all, we're going to talk about leadership also. We talk about teamwork, how to integrate a team. And I just offer art and art creation, particularly art creation, as a tool that taught me everything, because I have zero education. Yeah, I did high school, and I flunked everything because I'm neurodiverse. I'm dyslexic. I stuttered. I can read, obviously, but I couldn't comprehend it. So I'm out of the system anywhere that I can, but I've found that's a strength. That's not a weakness. And that's a part of what we talk about, because it's about finding our unique abilities. Living life is, you get born, you learn till 7 how to be a human. You're copying and said, what does it mean? What does it mean to be physical? Okay. What we don't do is explore and unveil who you are, because you are everything you are already when you're 7, 8, 10. It's just unveiling your powers. That's why you rebel. That's why you go to adolescence. And because we are adaptive animals, and we are drawn into, we are herd animals. We want to be always a group. We have a DNA drive to belong.
Yeah.
And the problem is that our drive to belong is also the drive to adapt. And what we do is we make our systems work. And I think that's essential to know about our conversation. We need to compartmentalize. Are we living humanity through being humane and understand humanity, or are we experience humanity through systems? And I think it's very hard almost today, and this is what we find about mindfulness and all this stuff, because it tries to systemically bring us back into humanity. But everybody has inherent understanding what humanity is. So there is no political correctness or whatever. It doesn't help, because it's another system that drives us, distorts us. We have a feeling we need to start trusting that you and I can create better than you alone and me alone. We need to trust that we in a group we are inclusive. We are herd animal, and there's a reason why we are herd animal, and there's no mistakes in nature. And what the system is we try to be above nature, but we are not. No system created humans, and no system created nature. So the highest, I think, one of the thinking that a leader or anybody in a team should have is primarily look at priority of humanity and nature. Once you have that, the symptom is that the system will work. In teamwork, we talked about that, right? If you trust the human, what you have ability, and we are more West, and you know that as a coach, we know that people always think less about themselves because they heard one time in the system, hey, you don't fit in. And then that's almost like a shaming. And then you take over that shame and says, yeah, but I was great, but in this company I failed. But we also know that failure for humans are the road to success. Failure and mistakes are the roads to success.
For those who are sitting back listening to this point saying, what the hell are these two guys talking about? Just for the purposes of this conversation, a system to me would be, and add to this or correct me if I'm wrong, but a system to me would be, say, the government or church or a company
Yep.
or even the system, you play a game, there are rules to a game, there's a system that we have to follow, for example. And I'm sure that there's countless other systems that we've implemented over the years, over the centuries, to what I've always thought is, well, we implement these hierarchies or these processes or these systems to either scale progress or what we believe to be success, or to herd the masses. I don't know if the goal of the system is bad or good. I just
No,
know
it's
that
good. It's good. It's good. A tribe is good. Let me interrupt you. And
yeah,
the tribe. Why did we create a tribe? So every system initially is good, because what do we want? Family, we're stronger than if we're alone.
yeah.
If we create a tribe, the girl doesn't have to feed the baby all day long. She can give it to the grandmother, and she can go out and pluck the berries. Like, that's how initially humane thing. The problem is when systems get too big, and they say there's 150 is the perfect system size. When the systems get too big, the bigger the company, they have just power over. And everything is a system. A family is a system. So we need systems. I'm not against systems at all. I'm saying being conscious of who has priority. And humans always have priority. If you cannot, how can you ever justify 80,000 people in Ukraine and Russian war dying? Because the system says, because one person hides. And this is another thing. People hide behind systems, and what we need to compartmentalize is so essential. On the other side of systems, we're creating a mirror, a double-sided gray mirror that distorts us. So let's say taxes, new government comes in, new taxes, all the people, they get the best tax people, they make a new tax law, they blah, blah, blah. And then what does the other side do? It tries to navigate those taxes not to pay those taxes. So there is an idiocy about it that is completely, it makes no sense. So on one side, and basically what it is, we are not against the system or for the system. What we are doing is human against human. A life force is wasted on creating taxes and navigating taxes. The energy of life that is spent on not potential, human potential, but I'm paying or not paying taxes. That's insane. We have a human potential where we can fight every disease, we can create everything. And we find that out in crisis, by the way, often, like COVID or whatever, 9/11, just happened. So these things need to be aware. I think that's why our crisis is not, there's a 5-step program. You need to buy this program. You need to do this. It's just being conscious.
What drives that, Michael? Is it money? Is it greed? Is that what gets the ultimate well-intentioned system off track?
I love the question. I think we are so, that's now we come to art, because we are so fascinating by what we create, because it gives us a sense of God. Right? So what is art? So art is basically a conversation with the non-physical. And I said, I want to create art. What should I do? Basically, you start consciously or subconsciously with a question, and a color comes in. Let's say that green in the background, and you say, this green is too light, it's too dark. You tweak the green. It's like creating a podcast. I want to do a podcast. I like to talk. I think I could learn when I do a podcast. And you start a podcast. Every podcast is different. I did 75 guest appearances. Everything is different. Every talk is different. And so then you have this conversation, and the product of that conversation is the art piece, is the music, is the poetry, because you created life. You created something that pivots over. It's not life. It's not a living being, but it has an own energy. And this energy you created, you helped create that energy. And then the energy takes over and says, yeah, on that thing, you can't do this. On your podcast, you can't do this. I mean, that's absolutely knows that you can't just do. That's you feel like a god, because you created it. Nobody can take that away from you. It's like saying to me, hey, you can't do a podcast. I can say that 100,000 times.
Yeah.
You did.
Well, no, you're right in that, when I first started this thing, I had never listened to a podcast in my life. I've never even, I didn't listen to them.
Yeah.
And it was my wife's idea to record this stuff, but I didn't know what a podcast should look like or feel like or sound like. It was based on nothing. It was just a recording that I found a way to upload onto this hosting site. That's all it was. And it wasn't until like time went by that I started listening to other podcasts and then reading, a good podcast gets this many downloads, or a podcast that fails only does this in the first 3 months. And I was reading this information from different sources, and I'm thinking to myself, is that true? Is that true? Because because none of it applied to me. And so I mean, there may be a system for podcasts, but how often are these systems created to help people stay on track or help people not repeat a mistake? And to your point, we need to fail in order to learn. As long as the failure isn't final, does the system, I mean, God, I don't even know how to take this conversation, because the system could cause you to say, well, no, you failed, therefore you're out, and now you're over here, when really that's just part of a learning process. You know what I mean? So if I think about why, say, a business has a mission statement and certain best practices, my guess is that if they do these things, then they become successful in the form of revenue, or in the form of profitability or contribution, or whatever it is they define the success to be. But the system is there to hopefully do good for people and customers, say, for example. But at what point does the system no longer serve what it was intended or created to do in the first place? Like, what gets in the way of that?
This is a big part of my future work that I want to do. I mean, I have to first, verbalize all the stuff from the system, what you do and I do here. But this is going to be, how do we keep control over the system, that systems are human relevant and not humans because it takes too much, and it's inefficient to use so much energy, life force, for something that's very limited, a system, and the system cannot survive without human. This is some other things we don't get. If there's no systems, we somehow will survive. I trust that humanity will. If tomorrow there's no systems, we will survive. If there's no system, no humans tomorrow, there, nobody cares. The systems are irrelevant. And that consciousness of will make in the future. I think this is what the big pivot point, and this is so great, because this comes all not right now in the moment. If people want to, in the old days, though, this is correct. What you said, you coach the people to do this. You have a vision statement. You do this. You do this. You do this. It's always more. Today you cannot. I remember when I learned in what I learned and what I read is there was the Disney effect, because Walt Disney was 8 times he went bankrupt, and the 9th time it happened. So that they taught in all the big business schools, right? There was the effect. And I think now it's completely different. And the funny thing is, the 3rd year, people hit the wall around the 3rd year. And what is the highest reason of why they hit the wall? Financial disparity, which it brings back to the value. We talked about value and stuff. All systems are dependent on financial principles. Every system, religion, everything to keep a system running. The fundamental thing is financial. So financial works on 24/7 all the time. It doesn't get tired. But humans, on the other hand, and this is the interface, what we need to interface as coaches or leadership experts or whatever, is basically, I think our function is basically to make people conscious, not to give them steps and give them more work. I think once you're conscious and you can give an experiential experience, you know, a learning, experiential learning, and say, you know, I mean, you're a hands-on guy, right? You're going into the companies, you know. So once they say, oh, that's how they, and you couldn't write, you know, the funny thing is when you're a hands-on guy and they get it, you couldn't give them, that would be libraries of books because they're so limited. And then we don't see that either, right? I can show you, I mean, why do you think YouTube works? Because you see another human being doing it and boom, you know, you don't need to read 15 books. Humans need to get the maximum out of your humans. You need 8 hours of sleep or 7 hours of sleep. You need, if, you know, you have like nature. See, you have to diversify, like there's systems and there's human and nature.
Yep.
Nature, you have seasons, you have years that are weak. And economy, on the economic, because it was created by humans, the economic principles, there is no, we can't even say we have loss. We say it's negative growth. Because we want to so support that survival is intricately linked with the money, and I think that's where, when it gets too big, and I think when we lose sight of humanity and nature versus system, when we submit ourselves to systems, and I have to work, I can live with 4 hours of sleep, and you know this person is going to make mistakes. Multitasking doesn't work. That's a system thing. That people are lazy is a system definition. So they keep them working. The education, everything. I mean, you just have to compromise. We say we don't have to struggle. We don't have to suffer. We don't have to sacrifice. We don't have to control. We need to talk. We need to communicate as humans.
Yeah. You know what? I feel like we're up against the brainwashing of people. And I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist or anything, but I believe that the majority of people out there are already institutionalized. They're already in the trap of whatever that system is, the system to keep up with their neighbor, or the system to get the A because so-and-so's kid got an A, or the system to be on this team, or to buy this house, or to lose this amount of weight, or to whatever it is. And believe me, I do all of those things. I think the key is you got to do those things consciously.
Exactly. That's the key. That's the key. You gotta understand this stuff and do it consciously. You said the key word. You can do all this. We are all part of systems.
Yep.
You can do all this stuff, you know, help your kid, do whatever, but you have to do it consciously, because if you do it consciously, you will ask your kid, do you want to do ballet, piano, softball? Do you want to do all these things?
Yeah. You
will interact and communicate.
So I want to cover like 1,000 different topics with you right now.
Let's go, baby.
I'm going to do my best, because I've listened to and watched some of your interviews. One of them, you said, if we just got rid of the concept of race, gender, and sexuality, we would eliminate something to the effect of whatever 75% of the problems we have in this world. I'm like, brilliant. But yet, how that's all we talk about. So the system is forcing the conversation. And then
don't blame the system. Don't blame the system. It's other humans that have to feed their family. They find it. See, this is what I'm saying, creativity. That's why my next book is about creativity and systems.
Okay.
On the other side, this is when we get that across, Dave, then we are king. On the other side, people always have also have a family. That's why I'm saying human against human will never work. We have extinguished us over and over again. And having a distraction of system helps both. So you let's go back to the tax, right? You as the tax advisor, you get money because you show them how to navigate the taxes. And the guy that creates the tax system, also with a family, creates, and they will juggle each other up every year. Every year we missed that, we did.
Yep.
And in the process, and this is so essential, in the process we waste our life energy versus living, having fun. Having fun is, by the way, that's an essential human thing. Creating a human potential. What we're doing now we have all the AI and everything is done by machines. How are we going to spend our lives versus how do I do something that somebody else created that I can navigate? That's insane.
Well, yeah, no, I hear that, but I mean, I feel like we use the segmentation of people, whether it's race, gender, sexuality, feelings, to market stuff to them, to sell stuff to them. For example, I just watched the series Dope Sick on Hulu. I don't know if you saw Dope Sick.
I don't even know what it is. I need to write that down.
Yeah, it's basically about Purdue Pharmaceuticals marketing OxyContin to their strategic plan to market OxyContin to the public with the help of the FDA. And they basically targeted communities of hardworking people that were more likely to be injured at work, for example. So they were marketing this solution to pain, physical pain. And I thought to myself, well, you're naturally going to be sore if you work, if you do physical labor, but to market an opioid to this population of people is just catastrophic. But anyway, my point is they zoned in on the idea that people feel pain, and who's not going to relate to that? So, by the way, we have this fancy pill that'll fix that until it became so abusively and egregiously marketed that we created some major problems in this country. That's one example. Or the idea that if you ever feel different because whatever, you're dyslexic, so if you're made to feel different because you're dyslexic, well, I can market something to you. I can sell you something to maybe make you feel now included. The system brings you back in over here. And I just wonder, are the systems being bastardized? Are we leveraging systems?
We hide behind the systems, because what you just explained to me is, I don't think there is one mastermind behind it or a group and said, we're going to market that to those people. I think because we all need to survive and we have no character. We don't know how we are over generations, living in systems, and we are not conscious. We are unconscious. So let's say that one person, chemical guy, he says, yeah, I could do this or this, but if I do this, then I have more money and I could do. And then the next step comes, okay, on the marketing side, I'm gonna do this, or I could this. And just because we need to balance that static, and we are not static, we are organic, right? Our shiny creations, our podcast, our Apple, Nike, McDonald's, all these super companies. And by the way, these are just guides. They just say what is humanly possible. Elon Musk is possible. Jeff Bezos is possible. Steve Jobs is possible. So when I look at that company, I don't look at it, oh my God, this is Apple. This is so unbelievable. No, I think this was created by humans, and I'm part of that. So it's not like I submit to that and I'm impressed. I say, I'm impressed about myself that I'm part of whoever, how many thousand people created Apple. There's enough money on this world. Why do 8 people own 40% of this planet? Why do 50% of the workforce in the world have to live with $5.50 a day? This is because there is this, and I tell you this, that's what the dissonance is. We are organic, and this is static, and this is we submitting to this, and this doesn't work. Mm-hmm. We have to use this, that this goes, that is going in a wave, like everything is a wave, that it goes in a wave, and then we can handle loss. That's not negative growth. That we say, hey, listen, I don't need every day a Mercedes. When you say, hey, I don't want to buy every day a Caddy or a Mercedes or something, every year. I don't need the newest model, which we saw in 2008, right? The whole car industry collapsed because people didn't buy every 2 years a new caddy because they said, I don't need it. And I was still accepted by the system, gross, right? I was still accepted by my friends. They didn't even care if I have a new Mercedes.
I feel like we've conditioned people to need these systems.
No, we conditioned ourselves. We conditioned ourselves.
Or we condition ourselves. Like I like to think of myself, like I look at it like I'm constantly looking at my life ever since I was a young person. Yeah. How do I not need what everyone else needs? How do I not fall into the trap of going down this path? Like, for example, and I wasn't there right away, especially as a young 20-something coming out of college, clueless.
Yeah.
I spent more time asking other people, what should I do? Like, where should I work? It was the wrong way to do it. Always looking for this answer that was not there, because who the hell was going to tell me what I should do? I'm going in the wrong direction. Now I could go to other people and ask them, what do you think I'm good at? Where do you think I make a contribution? And it was those conversations that were much more helpful. But in the end, what I should do is what I'm meant to do. But it's my job to realize that.
I was hitting the wall till I was 50, constantly trying to figure out stuff. 55. And then I thought, you know what? I have to accept it. I'm so that old now. I have to accept that I'm dyslexic, that I don't understand stuff, but I have another view of it. And that helps other people. Yeah. And that's how I found it out. I hit the wall so long, till I found it out. But I think this is also something you and I have a spirit that is perhaps not so distorted, because a lot of people don't get my age. A lot of people give up because they're blinded because they're taking the system as gauge. Stop taking the system as gauge. Take the gauge at human beings.
I agree with you, but it's the unusual path when you refuse to be measured against what others are measured against. In terms of anything, in terms of happiness, or in terms of
how can you measure happiness?
Well, you can't. Trying to accumulate wealth, for example, or material goods. I love that I live in a nice house. It's not the nicest house in my neighborhood, though. It's a nice house. I'm comfortable in it. But I don't care if it's the nicest, whatever that even means. I don't even care.
That's your wisdom. That's your wisdom. You came in your age to that actually. And I bet your family helped a lot with that. I think, being with other human beings, I didn't have a family, so I wasn't a lot of, I'm very good with people, but I never had a family. So I think when you are with family, you learn, and you learn a lot from your kids too.
I've learned more from my wife and my kids than I did from my family growing
up. School, and schooling and anything,
Oh, and schooling, but I mean, we were a very divisive family. I come from specifically on one side of my family, very divisive, critical, abusive in a lot of ways.
Of course.
And I learned that this model of living is broken. Tons of alcoholism, divorce. And I'm not implying that I lived this horrible life. I didn't, but I wasn't around positive people or extended family that really had our best interest in mind. Everybody had their own problems, and we lived with problems mentally. And it wasn't until I got the hell out of there that I realized life is not that bad. It's not that complicated as long as you get out of your own head. And so
we need think less thinking, more feeling,
exactly. And stop comparing. You can
that system, Dave, that's comparing race, gender, sexuality, putting a value. I tell you, that's the static economic principle. I'm not against money. I'm saying the function of the economic principle destroys humanity, because we need to have an ethnical financial system, not that's human adaptive, not something that humans are financially adaptive. We adapt to our survival, which is the reptilian brain. You need to survive. You need to live. We do things for money. We kill people for money. We be mean. We are mean bosses. We are mean managers because we do this for money. And we don't know yet how much damage we do. We just say, I need to survive. And obviously that is just the law of the land of humans. You got to look first of your survival.
The accumulation of wealth and material, it's great, but you can't keep it. So what good is it? You know, and if we spend our time measuring ourselves against those things and not making a contribution to other people. And I'm not saying you volunteer 100% of your time or anything like that, but it's if your existence is of no help to somebody else, if that's not what your priorities are.
Oh, it's helped though when you buy 62 cars or something. It is helping the economy. You're helping the economy. But now I'm saying you're helping a system. See, that's need to be conscious. Yeah. Also, they have asked, you know, there's more and more research, the people before they die, successful people, super successful people. And all they say, I wish I would have spent more with my wife. I would have with my animals. I wish I would have been me. We are one. Our power and our potential is found. We are the best example right now. We have never talked about these kind of things. And this is when, and you know, it's also scientifically proven that when you and I talk, both of our brains are altering.
Yeah.
This is, if we want to know, no, I don't want Dave's brain to alter me. No, it's, you know, it happens. And that's when you get that, I think we can, hopefully we got on the thing to just make you think. And I don't want you to do steps. I trust that the information that you get from us, you know, is that it will percolate in us because we're all connected.
The one thing I want to kind of go back to it.
Go back to as much as you want. You know?
On the art piece. And, you know, if I think of art, I think in terms of music, I think in terms of painting, drawing, comedy, acting, dancing, all those things. When it comes to art brings people together. You don't even have to come from the same place. You know, you go to a concert, you get people of all different walks of life and listening to this music. You go to a museum, you get all different ages and colors and genders and all, looking at a painting or whatever, or going to a comedy show. It's the art that brings us together. It's the art that grabs onto your humanity. And so it's crazy, no matter what system you might come from, no matter what your socioeconomic class, you gravitate to the art. Or as simple as you talk about nature earlier. And every time my family goes to the beach, we love going to the beach, but every time we go to a beach, I sit there and I think to myself, there are people from all walks of life at this beach. It doesn't matter how big their home is, how big their bank account is. They're all sitting here. Their ass is here, sitting on this same sand, looking at that water, probably drinking the same beverage or whatever, eating the same food. We're all the same. And so I think of like when you brought up nature and art and human, that's where it is. And for some reason we forget that. Like in moments of stress, we forget that. In moments of crisis, we go back to it, I feel. But
what is stress? What is stress? I mean, stress is, there's good stress that there's good stress. You have to take care of your kids, right? And there's stress that is, and I found that the stress is the static of systems versus the organic of humans. Have biorhythms. They have, I create more in an hour if I've slept well than if I have not slept well and be 8 hours in a system. I can, and everybody can confirm that. And I love that what you said in nature, because I said the same about art. I said, go to any art opening or a concert where all the people doing, singing together. And why do we feel so good? Because that's where we are. That's what we're supposed to do. Inclusive. We are inclusive. We are herd animal. And when you go to a art show opening, rich, poor, sex, gender, it doesn't matter. And people are not talking about business. And the funniest thing is, nobody looks at the art. It's just the energy of the art. people I know, art lovers, they say, I have to go back to the show and watch the show because I was so good with human. Everybody is an artist. Everybody has that muscle.
In order to bring out the art in you, you have to believe it exists. You can't believe, well, I can't do that, or I don't have that skill, or I don't have those abilities. And you have to understand what art is. You know, like to me, you know, life is about connecting with people. When you're with people, is everyone better off for that interaction? Do I, like when I leave an interaction, whether it's this or we're hanging out on my patio or at a game or what, do I like it's feeding off of that interaction? Are we all like in a better place because we hung out together, because we understood each other? That to me is all that matters. And all the other stuff we have is irrelevant. If I'm the accumulator of all the winnings, and you always feel less than around me, then I lose. Then what good am I to you?
No, you don't. You don't lose, because you need, and I answered that in your LinkedIn today. There's 10%, you know, I was a political advisor. So there's 10% of people that always, it doesn't matter if you're Jesus, Muhammad, or Buddha, they will against you. And you need that, because you need to be challenged all the time. Like, you know, an alpha gets challenged all the time.
Right.
So lean into that challenge versus eliminate the challenge, because eliminating the challenge doesn't help. If your team believes that inclusion, that what we talked today is, and they can feed off that inclusion, they can feed, I can contribute, I'm valuable, and I don't, and because I'm contributing because I'm working more than the other person, not I'm working more, I should get more money. You contributing because you can, but the other person helps you make decisions. You understand? So this is how we need to look at it, not at what's the common denominator and then value the common denominator. Everybody tries to adapt to the common denominator. That's wrong. That's not working, which you see it doesn't work. By the way, I just heard 2% of people, only 2% make more than $300,000, which actually confirms my thing that is so exhausted, the financial system, and that's why it gets so hard, and that's why we struggle so much. And then when you pay me with a credit card, 4 people make money of it. You know, you pay me $10, and four people make money of it. It is so exhausted because system becomes so effective in getting every piece of money out. You know, in the old days, you made a deal, you made 50 grand. See you later, Nick. Up to the next 50 grand deal. Now you have to. It's about parts of cents. The whole financial, you know, the stock market runs on millicents or whatever. It's crazy, and we need to see. We are so exhausted. This cannot be. We have more value than the system value of financials. There's more value, like you say. We're going inclusive. And the exchange, we feed off that exchange. And I think that's where we need to come. I think if we found something today in this episode is we need to get to see other values, love to go to work, learn at work, expand at work. You know, if we work for somebody, to have a great time, have fun with the people, because, and understand that, you know, teaching these people, so the leaders teach those people, it's okay when this person isn't feeling well, you know, it's okay. We take over and you won't even feel it. That's what I found. I found that always at teams of 30, 40, I have found this day, this guy comes late. It's not okay that he's coming late, but if there's a reason, there's a reason, and it's not going to be punished because he comes late, you know, because next time he stays longer or whatever. It's just,
right. Unless it's every day for 6 months, you got to do, you know what I mean? There's
no. That's the thing. Then do you need another schedule? So if somebody comes, I had that just now. So if somebody comes to continue, do you need to come later? Not that because you can't make it. So then work 5 hours instead of 8 hours. There's always a system solution for these things. Yeah. But if you want to do everything the same, the norm, you know, that's where I think we need to make system human adaptable. That's the key.
Yep. Let me ask you this, and this is off track, but I've been thinking about it. You know, you referenced gender. I brought it up because you brought it up in one of your interviews, and I'm hearing more and more and more about people, young people, questioning their gender identity. And I was talking to a client and going through the possibility of changing genders. I can't relate because I don't understand it, but at the same time, I know it's happening. But I was talking to a client the other day, and I don't know whether he saw something or read something where people had gone through a complete transformation. And it was something like 95% of that pool of people regretted the decision. And I thought to myself, is the system arriving too quickly to accommodate something before it's ready to be accommodated? People, like, I thought to myself, oh my goodness, how much regret might somebody live with if they make that decision too soon, because there's an answer for them right now. Oh, you want to do this? Good. We can do it this way. And I don't know if you had any thoughts on that. It just was coming to my head as you were talking.
You are awesome, Dave. Because I think if we go and if we are not looking ourselves as male or female, but as human, not as sex, because who gave us the definition? A system. Do you think a cat really asks himself, is that a black cat or a white cat? Or is it male or female, or is it gay or not?
Right.
I mean, just look at nature. That's what I'm saying. Look at nature. What is in nature? And see that, not to copy it, but to understand it. And I mean, you came with a very intricate, no system has an answer for that because we are human.
Right.
There is no system answers for human. Humans are limitless. They can, when you say, hey, you should have a definition, they start defining themselves and you see what they do in sexuality. And then they try to system define themselves and say, okay, I make a new thing. I'm binary. I'm making a new thing. Nobody knows what's binary. Well, I'm starting a new system and I'm in binary. You might be binary, but others might not be, because everybody's unique. You have unless we have all the same DNA, systems don't work for human. Right. I mean, we have to rethink systems to make them, and that's where the money is. You want money in the future, you want consultant, make system human adaptable. That's where all the cash is, because everybody will support it, because they will see instant effects. They will see instantly rewards. People will feel better, people less stressed, will have time for their family, will have things. There's a solution for everything. We can make a system solution, a culture solution. That's the problem. Because it's a defined, no, you can't. And look what the people do. They don't go to work now. They don't want to go to work. You need to do a hybrid, and for some people, it's important to go to work. So why can't we not create systems that satisfy the humans?
You know what it is? Most of the work I do these days, everything I do is with another person. So I'm coaching people. I don't sell products or anything like that.
Exactly. Me the same way. Yep.
Right. So we're in a similar world when it comes to that. But every person I coach or train or advise works in some sort of system. And the work that I do is helping them understand how to navigate that as a human being and help them see the humanity in other people. Yeah. So if you came to me and you wanted to talk to me, you have a business partner and she's that, it's my job always is to try to help you understand this other person that you're talking to me about, what is going on in that person's mind. So that if you can find a way to connect with them as a human being, you can potentially both navigate this together instead of me allowing you to define somebody else as good or bad or competent or incompetent. You know what I mean? And so
judging that system, but that system thing, and no animal doesn't judge another animal. That's the system. Correct. That's what I'm saying. The major stress comes. I have a guy that I had yesterday. I talked to him. It's like he said this. He said this. He said it's an opinion.
Yeah,
we all have them.
Right.
And he hasn't the human knowledge. He has the system knowledge. He said, I'm lazy. He said, I'm not doing this.
Right.
But he doesn't have the human knowledge that you can have an opinion. I mean, is it wrong because you said, I hate that green behind you, or I wish that was black or white? That's your opinion. I'm not telling, oh my God, do we have to love the same woman? Everybody has to love the same partner, the same woman or man or whatever. Do we have to? Is this what we want, that everybody looks the same? Why do you think women change their appearance all the time? Because they get something gets famous, they all change to that. The next gets famous. In the 20s, we were flat-chested, now big, well, then now big butts. I mean, it's constantly changing.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm saying the system says, yeah, this and this and this and this, but in really, humanity changes anyway.
So do you believe that, or is there truth to the fact that any sort of hatred, bias, racism, sexism, all this
condition,
it's all man-made. It's all
man-made condition. Yeah.
It's so funny because if I put people in a room together and I create a competition around who can collect them, if I throw, I don't know, pennies on the ground, whoever can collect the most wins, it's like you'll go kill the other team just to have the most pennies in it, and they become the enemy. And I think that's what all of the more we define, this is what I worry about when it comes to defining ourselves. I feel like we are doing more of that. If I start saying I want to be noticed for, being a white 50-year-old brown-haired, guy, I need you to notice me for that. And then people start accommodating that. We have more problems than we need to be dealing. That to me is a huge problem. It's what can I be doing to contribute instead of needing to be noticed?
You can, if you start seeing it, if you integrate it, you will experience something very interesting. When you integrate that we are human, and you yourself can recondition yourself, uncondition yourself from the system, instead of looking at a woman as a hot piece, and I'm looking at a woman as a human. I look at what is behind that face of her body, what is that soul? I'm trying to get, what is that essence of that person? If you do that, you will not, this is almost magic, but you will not encounter people like that.
Right.
So the more I go and see human as humans, the more I speak about it, because that's conditioning too. I'm unconditioning myself from system definitions, from system navigations. I'm not saying systems are bad, but in order to be on the highest truth, which is nature and humanity, and I believe I've so much, the more I dive into this, the more I have about humans, if they just see that, because it's just a consciousness thing, that they don't kill each other through systems, and what you explained with the pennies and all this stuff, that's system definition. That's what they have generations. The one person that ran for all the pennies was probably generational, programmed. We have no money. We have lack. We have no lack. There is no lack on this planet.
Don't we have more obesity on this planet than we do poverty? Don't we have more food than we know what to do with?
We have 3 times as much food, but still we have 25,000 people dying a day of hunger. We have the abundance, but you see, the system doesn't want you to be saturated and think. So the system has to create a lack. The system is suffering right now from the lack of lack. People have it too good. And then we create crisis and whatever. But you need to understand that it's not one person or a group of people that has a conspiracy theory. It's we all a little bit. We need to survive. And when that one thing that we need a little bit of money is openly less and less, like we talked about, 2% make over 300,000. And in that there is included the millionaires and billionaires that you hear all the time. Also, system they tell you about the millionaires. They never tell you about the poverty. Right. They tell you about do you think YouTube wants to promote that 99% of whatever are not viral, or anybody, or any GoDaddy, or all these things want to promote? No, it's bad business. You need to promote the success stories. You need to promote. You never say you never have money. That's why nobody talks about money. Also, you don't tell as a coach. You say, hey, I couldn't help 15 people. You never would say that. You say, hey, I got this person, this money, this money. And therein is a big problem, because you said, because I did it, you can do it. And that's humanely wrong. Because I had just the thing to make a viral video. I just had luck. And I think we talked about it, the billionaire that told me that success comes when you just keep your business and wait for the luck, because it's not gonna, there's no power that you have. And then people write success books, and I wrote that in my value thing, and we can add that to that episode, to the value deep dive. And that's why these long conversations are important. Success, fame, achievement, and making money are completely separated things, issues. You can achieve a lot and not have money. Half of the humans work for $5.50, right? You can have success and no money. You can have fame and no money. You can have fame and not be successful.
You can be successful and not be famous.
Yeah, so it's all separate, but systems put it together. Yeah. Systems say, also systems tell you every day, and I wish somebody has would have told me that, because I would have saved a lot of life force that I spent. Life is supposed to be sunny every day. If it's not, we sell you a pill, give you a Ferrari, or you get a face job. That is insane. And when you get those three, you get the pill, the Ferrari, and the face job, and you're not happy, guess what the system says? There's something wrong with you. The absolute shame that it do anyway all the time. The absolute shame, because you fit, because you exist. The beggar and Fifth Avenue influences more people than you and me, because they thinking I could end up like that. That brings up the anxiety. Oh, I want to help that person. We all have value if we think system thinking he's lazy or not. Lazy is a system definition. In nature, what in nature do you think is lazy? Everybody has his function, if you know it or not. I'm not saying you need to know your function. I'm not saying you need to know why 97% of humans have a unique ability. I'm not saying everybody should know that. No, but you should be aware of that and look for it inside, not outside. Not that you give it to me, but right. And you help that navigate. So you're a coach, you help him find. So do you like that? No. So why would you keep going? Why are you hitting the wall? You're uncomfortable. Ambiguity is a thing that say, don't keep hitting the wall, because the system says, if you have an inner drive to want to hit the wall, yes, but not because the system says hit the wall.
Well, Michael, I think that laziness is almost, you manufacture it yourself, because
exactly
in my mind, when I'm lazy, I'm trying to fit into something that I can't figure it out. So I start to lose my energy and I start to become complacent. So the laziness is in the fitting in. It's exhausting. And so if you can learn not to try to fit in, and you can learn to develop the gifts, whatever those are, those God-given gifts, or whatever nature gave you, identify
unveil it. Yeah.
Whatever unveil it. Yeah, and share them.
Yeah.
Then there's no such thing as laziness anymore.
You share them automatically. The thing right. is, once because it's such a feeling, because you feel aligned, you feel balanced.
Yeah.
You share it automatically. I love podcasts. I'm not thinking, oh my God, I wasted an hour and a half with Dave. But this is the thing. So in a phone tree, and this is what AI now wants to do. It wants to see how long you, and this is where I say it's good that this happens, because people say, I can't exist like that. they will look at the they have the cameras anyway, but now they look at AI looks at the cameras and sees how long. So you are with 15 customers on the phone, one after the other, and you need to look out at the window just to process the information, to learn, to expand, to be better for the next 15. Now, according to system, because it's so limited, it can't get that. Only a human can get that. As that guy was looking out the window, was eating a sandwich, he was eating an apple or candy. He was looking out the thing. Let's cut the salary for that. So we know when you work for the system and when not. I'm glad it comes to such an head because we are not aware because it happens so slowly. And now it gets faster and faster. And then people say, no, that's it. And that's why people don't want to go back to work.
Yeah.
So we need to work different. We need to be aware, not change anything. If the change happens automatically, if I say you have a disease, you have to do a decision. Even if you say, I don't go to the doctor, that's a decision. You have to make a decision. That's why consciousness is the key, is the superpower. It's the superpower. You're being conscious. Look how much you changed since we talked. I mean, you and I talk, and we had a real good talk, a pre-interview. And I see you completely different.
Yeah.
I think you see much more you.
Well, it's funny. I went on a walk this morning and I listened to one of your interviews, and there were things I was listening to your interviewer when you were done talking. This particular one would say, wow, God, I don't even know it, because it's different. It's different. So help me here. There's something I totally understand, and yet the systems part of me struggles to attach it to something, and which is really not what I should be doing anyway. But for anyone out there that's listening, that's saying, what the hell are these guys talking about? What would you say to them to bring this to like some sort of point? What would you ask them to think about or consider?
Never forget that you're a human and that you are limitless. Systems are always limited. Every system is limited, even a tribe. You are limitless. You have solutions. And you are valuable because you exist. And look at me. I have no education. I wasn't trained by anybody. I wasn't thinking. And look what I come up with. So I'm the best example. I'm living what I'm telling. I have no idea. I'm reading. I can't even read a book. I switch everything dyslexia. I need to listen to shit, and it just doesn't work. So I talk to very, very smart people too. So I'm going from I love I'm going with the bus and see all the homeless people, and at the same time I go, I think, because I see the world not as this is where I belong, or I love the humanity in its whole. And if you get to that and not think woman, man, race, you have already won. You have won. The moment you see our power is not me against them, me for them, it's me being a part of them. And everybody is a part of me. And looking at the world, and I don't have to hug the person. I don't have to kiss the person. I don't have to sacrifice for the person. I just observe, go in the bus, observe. No action, no go and do huge donations or whatever. Just be observing. You will do the donations automatically. Once you find yourself, you are an automatic. You go. I find this too. The more I become me, the more I'm automatic. Not automatic, but conditioned, but automatic me. And that's a whole new world that's opening up. I feel like I'm 20 years old. I swear to God, because just of that more and more being in a moment, don't be in mind constructs of this goal, we're going to go in the future, past, in the moment. Right now, what we do here, we are the best example of what we talk about. We have pleasure, we have joy, we have passion. We want to know. We're inquisitive. We both want to know what comes out of this. So this is an excellent. And if you can live your life, so like wherever you appear, you create new stuff, and it's not dependent on the outcome. this could have been horrible, but it would be still okay. It would be still, this talk could have been horrible, but still be okay. Because it's not about creating a good talk. It's about interaction between humans. It's not about having 100,000 likes on this. They will come when it's ready. Perhaps it's ready after we die. They find this in archives. They dig that up from a pyramid and say, oh my God, look at those two. Look at those two clowns, right? So you know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I relate. I relate. Yeah. Your energy is infectious. It really is. Like you because you're in flow with who you are. I relate to it. It's.
But you are too. I mean, I'm saying you are getting in and out still, but you are in, because that's what I said before with the spirit. We are lucky, you and I, that we have that spirit, that it's not distorted by systems so much. Me, because I couldn't fit in. And you perhaps with your family, you know, and you couldn't fit in there, you know.
Right.
But that helped our spirit. So that's why life is always a challenge. You live, it's a challenge. So why don't you surrender that it's gonna be always a challenge? You know how much peace that gives you? It's always gonna be a challenge. If you can tell me my life was never a challenge, no human that I ask said, when was life not a challenge for you? Rich or poor or successful or divorced or everything. When life you live, it's a challenge. That's the truth. Not life should be sunny every day. If it's not, we sell you a Ferrari, a pill, or a face job. Life is a challenge. Accept that. And it makes you experience more of who you are. Doesn't get better than this.
All right. What's the best way to reach you, Michaell, for those that want to connect with you?
Mike, one hop, say very simple, and it's michaellm.com. Michaell with 2 L's, michaellm.com. And you call me, email me, LinkedIn, all of my websites, my art, my music, my books, and so on and so on. Everything is there.
Michaell Magrutsche, thank you very much. Keep doing what you're doing.
You too, David. And we can do this anytime again.
Sounds good.